Beth and Rip's Yellowstone spinoff doesn't need a Kevin Costner replacement. It can still include John Dutton II. Amid the events of Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2, a casting deal broke the news that Kelly Reilly and Cole Hauser's Beth and Rip characters would headline their offshoot of Taylor Sheridan's landmark series. The report came as questions swirled about the neo-Western franchise, with fans wondering if the original show would continue after Yellowstone Season 5's finale. Now, as Reilly and Hauser's Yellowstone spinoff takes form, many critics are wondering whether Beth and Rip's show will be a carbon copy of what would have been Yellowstone Season 6. Kevin Costner, who brought notoriety and prestige to the series as John Dutton, revealed he hoped there would be 7 seasons for Yellowstone. However, Costner's exit from the modern Western show was the paramount reason Yellowstone's 7-season plan couldn't continue as envisioned. Costner's John Dutton IE was the soul of the show. However, Costner didn't return to Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2, due to several disputes that riddled the final chapter. As it advances as Yellowstone's successor, Beth and Rip's show is reportedly looking for Costner's replacement via Puck. Still, there's no need. The show can feature John Dutton IE. In Yellowstone Seasons 1, 2, and 5, Josh Lucas plays a younger version of John Dutton in flashbacks. Lucas debuted as Yellowstone Season 1, Episode 3, No Good Horses. The episode flashes back to a traumatic moment for young Beth Dutton, Kylie Rogers, blamed for her mother's death after a disturbance with the horses causes John's wife to fall backwards off her horse, fracturing her spine. When Beth makes it back to the ranch, Lucas John Dutton frantically asks his daughter what happened, then leads a search party to locate his wife and youngest son, Riz Alterman's case. After setting up John Dutton's backstory in Yellowstone Seasons 1 and 2, Lucas features frequently throughout the first half of Season 5. Lucas appears with younger versions of Beth, Rip, Kyle Red Silverstein, and young Lloyd Forrest Smith, explaining the ranch's history of defending itself from local threats in the modern era. Lucas' appearance and performance as John Dutton are satisfyingly believable, enhancing the Yellowstone cast with a younger version of Costner's character that fans can subscribe to completely. The same could be said for Silverstein, who portrays Rip in his adolescence. Silverstein has a similarly robust presence in Yellowstone Season 5 as young Rip, appearing in even more episodes than Lucas. That's because, as the original series progressed, the flashbacks became as much Beth and Rip's origin story as they were an explainer of the family and life on the ranch. In Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 1, Rip and Beth go on their first date just before Beth goes off to college to study finance. While the date ends poorly, the flashback leads to a blanket apology from Kelly Reilly's Beth, with the flashback directly informing the couple's present. Therefore, the couple's spinoff is the perfect place for more Yellowstone flashbacks of Beth and Rip's younger years. The memories became a vital part of Beth and Rip's saga, explaining the moments leading up to their becoming the paramount Yellowstone power couple. Still, as Costner was to Reilly and Hauser in the original series, young John Dutton's role in adolescent Beth and Rip's flashbacks is essential. While the new offshoot intends to replace Costner, Beth and Rip's offshoot could instead lean on John Dutton's past influence and existing characters, with Lucas reprising his role alongside Rogers and Silverstein. Since Costner's absence as John Dutton is already a sore subject, Beth and Rip's spinoff could show more of John Dutton rather than replace him. It would be exciting to see existing actors return for the offshoot. It would also avoid the risk of putting together an ensemble that doesn't resonate with Yellowstone's fans. Lucas pairing with the younger Beth and Rip actors is a tested and proven formula, and learning more about the couple in their younger years would be a fun watch. More Yellowstone flashbacks could explain who Beth and Rip were after John's daughter went to college. The memories could explain how Beth and Rip hit their stride as adults, becoming the people who would eventually find each other. We know that Beth and Rip didn't properly date after their ill-fated night out, but surely the pair interacted as they grew older, with Beth returning to the ranch to visit John. The flashbacks could focus on the characters as individuals. Still, the show should primarily highlight Riley and Hauser's performances. The actors will hold down the series, which is why Beth and Rip's Yellowstone spinoff could just feature John Dutton rather than replace him. The upcoming Yellowstone spinoff centered around Beth and Rip has fans buzzing with anticipation. The dynamic duo, Beth Dutton, Kelly Riley, and Rip Wheeler, Cole Hauser, have captured the hearts of audiences with their passionate love story, unwavering loyalty, and no-nonsense approach to life. However, one major question looms over the series. What about John Dutton Adioi? With Kevin Costner's departure from the flagship show, many assume his absence means John Dutton will be erased from the Yellowstone universe. But that doesn't have to be the case. The Beth and Rip spinoff doesn't need a Kevin Costner replacement. It can still include John Dutton II in a meaningful way without recasting the legendary role. The legacy of John Dutton II. John Dutton is the foundation of the Yellowstone saga. His character has shaped the ranch, the Dutton family dynamics, and even the power struggles that define the series. While Kevin Costner's portrayal is irreplaceable, Yellowstone has already demonstrated that the show can explore John Dutton's presence without requiring the actor to be physically on screen. His influence can be felt through dialogue, flashbacks, and even letters or recordings left behind. Rather than replacing Costner, the spin-off can keep John Dutton's essence alive in creative ways. Beth and Rip's journey doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's deeply tied to John's legacy. Whether the series takes them to a new ranch or keeps them loosely tethered to the Yellowstone, his guidance, warnings, and philosophies can remain an integral part of the storytelling. Flashbacks and previously unseen footage. One way to include John Dutton without recasting is through flashbacks. Yellowstone has often used flashbacks to flesh out the backstories of its characters. In the spinoff, unseen moments between John and Beth, or John and Rip, could be woven into the narrative to offer insight into their choices and struggles. There may already be unused footage of Kevin Costner from previous seasons that could be repurposed. Even brief glimpses of John Dutton in pivotal moments, perhaps as Beth remembers lessons from her father, would reinforce his importance without requiring a physical presence. Letters, recordings, and unseen influence. Another clever way to incorporate John Dutton's presence is through letters or voice recordings. Beth, who was always fiercely devoted to her father, could discover old letters filled with advice, warnings, or confessions. These would serve as a way to continue his influence, giving her guidance as she and Rip navigate their new chapter. Similarly, a recorded message from John, perhaps left for Beth in the event of his absence, could add a deeply emotional layer to the spin-off. These letters or recordings wouldn't just be sentimental. They could contain valuable insights about the Yellowstone, their enemies, or even words of wisdom that help shape the decisions Beth and Rip must make. A symbolic presence. John Dutton doesn't need to appear physically to be felt in the Yellowstone spinoff. His legacy can be embedded in the land, the traditions, and the ongoing struggles of the Duttons. Characters speaking about him in reverence, regret, or even defiance can keep him at the heart of the narrative. For instance, Beth could wrestle with the burden of living up to her father's expectations, questioning whether she is truly honoring his vision. Rip, who always saw John as a father figure, might frequently refer to lessons learned under his leadership. The ranch itself, or whatever new frontier Beth and Rip find themselves in, could feel like an extension of John's will, a place where his philosophies still echo in every decision made. The emotional weight of John's absence. Rather than ignoring John Dutton's absence, the spinoff can lean into it as a source of conflict and motivation. Beth, despite her tough exterior, was deeply shaped by her father. His loss, or even just his physical distance, would weigh on her, influencing how she approaches the future. Rip, too, would feel the weight of John's absence. Having been practically adopted by the Dutton patriarch, Rip was shaped by his guidance and approval. How does he navigate a world where John isn't there to offer that final nod of approval? The exploration of their grief, respect, and the responsibility they feel toward John's legacy would add emotional depth to the spinoff, a narrative that stands on its own. Most importantly, the Beth and Rip spinoff doesn't need to be tied down by the need to replace John Dutton. It can stand on its own, carving out a unique space within the Yellowstone universe. Beth and Rip's story is compelling enough to drive an entire series, and with John Dutton's presence subtly woven throughout, the show can maintain a connection to its roots without forcing an unnecessary recasting or awkward absence.